Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all who's coming back. Thank you all who has gone through a power lunch. We are here in the final frontier of the CUNY Blackmail Initiative 16th annual conference. We have our final panel. We have a just stacked of amazing BMI, current and former BMI students. And so I'm going to leave you in the more than capable hands, soon to be Esquire, Joshua Davis, who is a 3L at the CUNY School of Law. And he will lead the panel with Anthony Thomas from Kingsborough, Carmelo Quinones from Bronx Community College, and Jermaine Greaves, who's also at Kingsborough Community College. Joshua, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Joshua Davis, and I am a 3L at the CUNY School of Law. I'm familiar with BMI very much so. At my previous undergrad, Medgar Evers College, is when I first was introduced to the CUNY Blackmail Initiative. There at Medgar Evers College, it was called MDEC. That was a CUNY BMI program. It was the Male Development Empowerment Center. MDEC, they did an array of things from tutoring to mentoring to the barbershop. It was just a phenomenal program. And then I'm moving up to be an aspiring lawyer. The CUNY Blackmail Initiative also had a program at the CUNY School of Law, the Pipeline to Justice program. So I can't necessarily say that I would be who I am if it was not for the CUNY Blackmail Initiative. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic off so that every panelist can introduce themselves. I'm going to go ahead and start with Jermaine.
Hi, my name is Jermaine Greaves. I am a current Kingsborough Community College student. I am an actor, activist, and founder of Black Disabled Lives Matter, as well as a current employee of Lincoln Center. And I currently do disability and storytelling at that institution.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to Carmelo.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carmelo Junito Quinones Reyes Jr. I am an alumni from Bronx Community College. I am the former president for the Phi Theta Kappa Lambda Nu chapter of in PTK at Bronx Community College. I am also a mentor at Bronx Community College with the Male Empowerment Network. I am an alumni from the Latin Association at Bronx Community College, and I am a current student right now at Lehman College. I am currently striving to finish my degree in history with a minor in social studies education, 7th to 12th grade.
Thank you, Carmelo. Anthony, you're up.
Hello, I am Anthony Thomas. I am currently a criminal justice student major at Kingsborough Community College. I am vice president of services for Phi Theta Kappa and chief of staff for Student Government Association. I'm also a fellow with American Needs You program, and I also serve on the University Student Senate as a delegate. I look forward to meeting you all and a successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you all for that introduction. So if you don't know, the CUNY Blackmail Initiative have programs throughout the whole array of CUNY schools. So just stay tuned. You'll learn a little bit more about that. Panelists, it's been a crazy year and a half, maybe 2 years with this pandemic. We've seen a lot from physical to mental health, financial insecurity, justice for George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And so I want to just start this panel off with just asking each of you, what's up? How you guys doing? I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Anthony. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. All is well. For me and everything that has happened is I take it from a more strategic approach and what is happening, how can I get through this, and how can I contribute to what is happening. So it's just always seeing what is going on, assess it, and then coming up with a decision on how I approach.
Thank you. How are you doing, Jermaine?
I am learning and growing and evolving and really understanding myself. To be honest with you, I had a recent medical scare that like put a lot of things in perspective for me. The last year and a half for me has not been exactly easy. Like my mother had COVID and my sister passed away. So I feel like my year and a half put a lot of things in perspective for me about like what is important and how do I take care of myself properly as well as those around me.
Sorry to hear that, Jermaine. We with you, and thank you for participating in this panel. And I hope that you are well. And if you ever need anything, you can always reach out. Carmelo, how you doing?
Uh, the last almost 2 years has been a life journey. First of all, when I entered BCC, I was actually in my first semester going into my second semester when the pandemic actually had began. And I wasn't sure if I was actually going to complete school due to the fact of everything changing the way it was, not only but school-wise, but also the surrounding of all the different protesters and the different unforeseen events that occurred in the Bronx and Manhattan, Brooklyn, and many other areas in the city where looters began to basically destroy what many minorities had built. And my focus came out more to help and listen, and to listen those who are more in need, and try to find solutions for students who were desperate to continue school, even though they were lack of motivation. That's why the way I thought things was more of a impactful thing to help, listen, and convey solutions. That's the way I truly saw it, and I continue seeing it to this day.
Nice. Thank you, Carmelo, for that. That I guess insight on how you're doing. So we're going to go ahead and just jump on in with some questions. I spoke briefly to all of you, just a little bit about yourself. I asked you guys to share with me some information, and I took some questions from what you guys shared with me, so that you don't have to be worried. It's just to go a little bit deeper. Anthony, we're going to start with you. When we spoke briefly, you stated and shared with me that you had a desire to I guess join law enforcement, and how that rapidly changed throughout the pandemic, with the protests, of the George Floyd, justice for George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. And so I just wanted you to share a little bit more about, how were you feeling throughout that whole situation, and has your views changed? Are you still interested in going into law enforcement? I know you're still majoring in criminal justice. So yeah, share with us how you're feeling about all of that.
I feel terrible about everything that African Americans has experienced over the last year in particular. What has been going on over the last year is not new. It's just that we are in a pandemic. People weren't moving as how they are accustomed to moving, and people were at home. So now being at home, you were forced to watch the television. With the access to video recordings and cell phones, smart cell phones, people were now able to record these things and expose cops and all of that. I still want to get into law enforcement because the only way I've learned that we change the score and change the policies and programs is that you must join the team. And this is why if you're a spectator at the games, you are very passionate. You want your team to win, but how do I get to score a goal? So to score the goal, you must join the team and then you contribute in that way. So for me and my interest in law enforcement, to get in law enforcement, sit at the table and I can say, this policy is redundant. This policy we need to remove. This is it. Because there's a lot of law and policies that have created and target marginalized and especially Black men in America. In New York City, stop and frisk was one. The prison sentences, the Central Park Five, and there's so many cases that I could have mentioned that Black people have been disproportionately affected with sentencing and access to the criminal justice system.
Anthony, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And I use that metaphor all the time when I'm talking to my friends, because you can't just be a spectator at a game. You have to get into the game. You have to play an active role, and whatever the desired result that you want, you have to participate. So I agree with that 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Carmela, we're going to jump to you real quick. When we spoke, you shared how your love for history and how there's always been a Black Lives Matter throughout history. And so I wanted to know, can you elaborate a little bit about that, Carmelo? Tell me a little bit about what you meant by that throughout history a little bit. I'm going to go to you because I know that that's what you're passionate about. That's what you're studying. So what did you mean by there's always been a Black Lives Matter movement, and what does Black Lives Matter mean to you?
Well, to starters, as I'm a history major, I enjoy the vast history that is given to us through textbooks that are taught in school, but also the ones that are not taught in school. So as we are aware, slavery began vastly probably at the beginning of the foundation of this country, but towards the rapid solution of how they tried to degrade it and get rid of it, a lot of differences began to issue. And what I mean by that is that you saw a very big push from Africans who wanted to be educated, who wanted to be their own person and have their own in a general basis. So little by little, from the commencement of the 18th, 19th century, you saw that. And little by little, that's where in the South and in the North as well, you saw the push for equality from the males and females who were African Americans who wanted to be in the equality as whites in this country. So there was always a different foundation when it came to a Black Lives Matter. What I mean by that is also where there was always a difference in which in every century or you can vastly create it, but you can see that there's always specific topics and different history markers that have created different movements that made it impactful for all our generations. From the beginning where the Civil War, where slaves were trying to get their freedom, and then little by little they were trying to African American males were trying to get their right to vote, and then little by little the right to own and so forth. And the differences in time gave us different movements, which gave them different actions and how would they deal with things. It all began with violent movements and little by little creating non-violent, more ethical movements that will create it's better to show than to act, as it was stated many times over through history. And as the genres continued forward and forward, you saw that in every century. Now in the 21st century, it's more populated because, as Anthony stated before, it's all about technology and social media and having a presence and having a voice that not many could have seen previously before, but now it could be seen through everybody in the world, not just through newspapers or radio, but more of a larger impactful meaning.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement as well. I think the pandemic may have, exposed a little bit more of that because people were just at home and watching over and over the, the cop nailing on George Floyd, and so that sparked a lot of people to get out and, I guess not be a spectator anymore, like Anthony said. And I totally agree with your statement about how Black Lives Matter was always kind of woven in our history from the abolitionist movement all the way to the civil rights movement. And now it's still Black Lives Matter. It's just a different name. So I definitely agree with that. Jermaine, you're up. You shared with me and you shared with everybody, which I'm excited to learn more about. You are the founder of Black Disabled Lives Matter. Can you tell us what is that and why did you start that?
Yes, I can tell you what it is and why I started it. So in June of 2020, I went to a protest for education for justice, and I just realized at the protest that I'm in the back of the protest line, and we're here marching for George Floyd, and we're marching for all of the names that were being killed by the police, and I'm not really a priority at this protest. So that's really why I started it. It was because I felt like for me, every time I'm trying to go somewhere, it's extremely inaccessible. I'm not a priority. People don't see me. And well, what most people don't know is that 50% to 60% of those that are being killed by the cops are Black and disabled. So I saw that statistic and said, I have to use my platform and share this with people. So that's what I decided to do.
And how's it going? Is people gravitating towards that movement? Have people shared your movement and who you are on their platforms? And yeah, I just want to know a little bit more about the engagement that what you created.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I would say, well, the biggest thing that we probably ever did was I was featured in something for PBS. CUNY wrote about me. A couple of other articles have wrote about me. Um, I'm just really proud that my work is touching people and I'm having conversations that people are afraid to have. I think that at the end of the day, the real reason that I created this was because I felt invisible. And I felt like if I feel like this, I know other people feel like this. So I think creating something that is not only changing lives, but touching lives is really something I'm proud of.
Thank you, Jermaine. Um, Thank you. I was moved by that, and I think a lot of people are going to know more about you and about this movement after seeing this. We're going to go ahead and move back on to Anthony. Um, I wrote this down. So you had shared with me that you migrated from Jamaica into the U.S. in hopes to embark on this so-called American dream, and that you
Yes,
currently work at the airport. And working at the airport, you witnessed discrimination internally and externally. Can you talk about that?
absolutely. Internal discrimination I have observed and experienced myself. I worked with this airline, and all the time you have people who look like them came in. You train these people, and when there's a problem, some mishap in operation, then you are sent to clean up the mess. Then when you have some diplomat or something and it's all red carpet and beautiful, then they do the work. So it was like, yes, you're here, but you're here to clean up this mess. Yes, you're here. Yes, you're competent, but you're going to convey these skills with this to this person so they are able to do it. You are not qualified to do it really. Externally from passengers just people in general, humans can be just disrespectful. One day I was checking in this passenger and he put his bag on the belt and I said to him, "Can you kindly straighten your bag?" And he said to me, "Excuse me?" And his wife said, "He's asking you to straighten the bag." And he said to me, "Do you remember when people who look like you would have to come around and pick up my bag and put on the belt?" And I said, "No, I do not recall that. I was born in 88. I don't know of slavery or anything about it, and I never partake in slavery. So we're done, and excuse me from the counter." It's, I don't know. I don't know if people will change, because at the same time, while people are mixing and mingling and things are opening, it will take so long to just decompress everything that has happened. And as Carmelo mentioned earlier, is that when you look on how law enforcement came about, what was it for, who it was designed to target it, and who sat at the table and decided, and all of these policies, it wasn't really until the chief for California, way back in the 1970s, I believe, according to history, that they decided to have persons who are academically trained to apply the law as police officers. But before that, it wasn't that. When we look at Pennsylvania, the capital, and all of that, it just was not that. It was just to keep their foot on Black people's neck.
And so I want to ask you just a follow-up question to all of that. We've seen recently pictures in the media of migrants from Haiti at the Texas border. And, you know, CUNY in New York City, we have a very large Haitian population, and you coming from that kind of experience in terms of migrating over here so recently. I just wanted to ask you, how are you feeling when you see that, and what's going through your mind as you processing that? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Witnessing people dressed as police officers on horses with whip was horrible. And then to see the Texas governor saying that what you did is okay, and if you're fired by the police department, I will hire you, is also horrible. This kind of thing was way back in slavery. This is what they did in slavery. When the slaves would try to get away, to make their way to Pennsylvania, to Philadelphia, they would jump on the horses with whips and whip these people and drive and run them down to just continue to enslave them. It is terrible that, what the Asian people has experienced. This is a group of people who have been through so much: the earthquake, the assassination of their president, and just really low poverty country. And now they're in search of a better life. They're in search of the American dream that many people like myself come here to achieve. And to know that they are met with that wrath and anger and slave style is just unacceptable.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Anthony. Jermaine, when we spoke, I started following you on Twitter. I was so impressed with all the work that you're doing. I learned that you created, or you partnered with a clothing brand that was it's like not like other kids. And I wanted to know what you meant by that, and how did that evolve into what it is today?
Okay, so Not Like the Other Kids started in 2016, so 5 years ago now. And I started it because at the time I needed to raise money for a wheelchair, and I couldn't get my doctor to get me a wheelchair in time. And I was in a broken down wheelchair for over 7 months while still working, unfortunately, and also going to school at the time. So I got a group of friends together and raised money for a wheelchair. I got the wheelchair and was able to use it for over a year and a half to get around more effectively. And I just got tired of doing everything myself. And, the clothing brand has turned into me doing fundraisers for Puerto Rico. I've been able to help people with their medical bills, create clothes that people like to wear, and also change people's lives in the process. Um, that's really why I started it. That wasn't the initial goal, but that's what it has turned into. Um, and we are actually working on a fashion show that's going to be virtual in October at the end of the month, as well as a physical fashion show at the end of the month also. So that the brand is expanding and growing and becoming.
Thank you. So I just want to follow up because something that stuck out to me in the first question was how you felt invisible, and the second, when you answered the second question, something that also that stuck out to me was how you don't want to, you got tired of doing it yourself. And so another question I have for you is, what's your thoughts? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on, like, when does Black Lives matter the most to you?
I think Black lives should always matter, but I believe that society thinks that as Black people, nothing bothers us, or that we're like immune to dealing with things, or that we can't. I don't know. People have this idea in society that Black people are a certain type of way, based on media, based on perception, and just this idea that you have to be a strong Black man all the time. You gotta have to keep it together. It's like that's really unrealistic. There are things that we have all gone through, and I think the more that we peel back those layers of what we really deal with, the better we will be. Um, I just think that people have this idea of and Black lives should matter because we create culture. We are the culture. A lot of people appropriate us. Let's be honest, and we do things that other people want to do. So, or try to do that are not even us. The Kardashians is an example, but like I said, there's a lot of things that we do that other people want to do, and we're the best at doing what we do.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Jermaine. Carmelo, um, you shared with me your love for mentorship, community service. You shared with everybody else all the affiliations. And I wanted to touch on something. How did you navigate this love for community service, this mentorship, your connection to all these affiliations, uh, this sense of community? Because I think that's what you were getting at. You did say community service, but I felt like when I was reading some of the stuff you sent me, that it was you're a community man, you're a community person. And so I wanted to know, or I want to know, how did you navigate your community, your affiliations, mentoring, community service through the pandemic, because the pandemic kind of, stopped a lot of people. And I wanted to know, how did you navigate that? Yeah.
That's a real good question, actually. So I'll start with, I'm going to take two shout outs, Mr. Clifford Marshall and also Tiffany Badon Yard, who is the advisor for PTK, and Clifford Marshall, who is the coordinator of the Male Empowerment Network in Bronx Community College. They both guided me to actually continue forward, because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But this is not my first time in college. I'm 32. I actually started right out of the Army. So it wasn't really such a broader thing for me. It was just something I wanted to continue forward with. So when I decided to go back to college, I wanted to do everything that a college student would do initially by starting doing this community service and moving forward. So that's something that I wanted to do off rip when I started at BCC. But as unfortunately, the pandemic occurred. And what I started to do was I began to coordinate with the different clubs. I began to coordinate with PTK. From PTK, I was little by little getting comfortable with the Male Empowerment Network, because I would go say hi to Mr. Marshall while he was in the office. Wasn't sure what really was, but when the pandemic occurred, I reached out to him and stated that I wanted to be a part of the Male Empowerment Network and see what can I do. And I began by being a mentor to my fellow college students and helping them in anything they needed. If they needed advice with school, needed advice with things at home or financial aid, anything in that nature, I was able to help them with. Where PTK helped my fellow officers and grow the brand of PTK in the school further than it really was already. I also, help with, if you're familiar with Be the Match, I helped make sure 66 people were actually additionally became.
I'm sorry, Carmelo, I'm not familiar with that. Can you share with us?
Yes, well, Be the Match is basically an organization in which young babies or adults have a very rare blood disorders or anything in that nature. For example, leukemia, or there's a couple of other ones as well. There's so many of them, but these are rare things that they need to have a particular bone marrow. So they need donors. So in doing research for Be the Match, I found out that Hispanic, Blacks, Oriental, and also mixed race are the lowest numbers of people who actually are in the donors list. So in doing so, Ms. Tiffany and myself and my fellow officers, we all coordinated to try to get more people in BCC aware of it and add it on to the Be the Match registry. And we were able to register 66 people while the pandemic was going on. Also with Latin Association, I was trying to continuously make it aware of helping my other fellow students and also helping myself in a way that I know that I can help my community. I love helping people since I was young in high school, and it will continue to grow. That's something that's passionate of me, and it will never stop because that's the way I am. I enjoy doing it. It gives me a great pleasure in helping those who may not know what's going on. And when you help them, it's a really good feeling. So for me, doing it is an honor. I don't care about getting anything in return. It's just helping is the best way you can help your community, your school, and those who may need it.
Thank you, Carmelo, but I do have a follow-up question. For those that's listening in the audience, for those students at BCC or across other CUNY campuses, and they may have some struggle being connected and feeling like they're still part of a community because of online classes. What's some suggestions, some skills, some tools that you could tell them to do? Should they reach out to their BMI program. What is something that they should do to try to get that sense of belonging and community again,
First, I
like you
would say,
did?
yeah, good question. Good question. First, I would say never give up. It may be hard sometimes to connect with those in your school because sometimes the school's so vast. So my first reflection will be to connect with somebody that's in the student life at your particular school, or if you are in a school such as BCC and you're able to actually connect with the way it was crazy because I connected with the PTK first. And as I connected with PTK, I was able to connect to every other program that was available at the school for students. So I was able to get into Male Empowerment Network, Latin Association, and others as well. And in doing that, you create your name. People start listening to who this person is, and you're able to find yourself. And a good way to do it is if your school has their own affiliated website on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. Go follow them and see if they have any programs that you may like in whatever particular subject you may like, because you never know until you try. I know some students could be shy, but it's always good to give yourself that push so you can feel good that you try. Never giving up is the best thing a student from the age of 18 to the age of maybe whatever 40, 50, because I know some older students myself, and you're able to learn from that. I learned one of my best advice that I obtained was from Dr. Bernard Gant at the Male Empowerment Network, when he was able to guide me through pushing myself forward in school when at a moment in my life I didn't want to do so. When my late wife passed away in 2019, and in doing so, I pushed myself to do it, and I had that feeling of family while I was at BCC, and I will always cherish that moment and that moment with everybody that was with me to continue having that feeling, because you never know if you're able to continue to grow that feeling as you continue and you finish school, and then you maybe, just maybe, you go to another school and you'll get the same feeling as well, with that sense of community and family. And that's the best way that I can describe to tell anybody if they want to pursue any type of particular outreach at all.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think if you're listening in the audience and you're trying to find ways to connect, I think Carmelo just gave you some great pointers. Reach out to your CUNY Student Life, your BMI program. I think that's the first start, and don't give up. So, before we move on, we have a question from the audience. So the question, I'm gonna read it, and I'm not going to choose. You guys could just elect to answer. It's from the audience. It says, "Black Lives Matter, but the way those who disagree about how Black Lives Matter is going about dealing with issues affecting the Black community are censored. Do you agree that Black conservatives who disagree with Black Lives Matter movement are being mistreated?" Um, so I'm
I
guessing
feel like I
that.
want to answer this.
Okay, go
I
ahead,
think
Janae.
um I think that conservatives can either be black conservatives, by definition, can either lean either very left or more traditional thinking of how they want to be in their thinking. I think I think it isn't whether black conservatives are being treated differently. It's the things that they're saying that are making people say, you know what, I don't know if this is what we need to hear right now, because it's more traditional and more of an older way of doing things. And we also have to understand that Black Lives Matter started because of the simple fact that cops were killing unarmed black men. So when we think about Black Lives Matter and what that word even means, it is saying that every Black life matters, and that unarmed Black men should not be a target for the police. Because as we know in society, when you show up as a Black man, you are typically a threat. Um, Even if you're not doing anything, you're just a threat. So that's what I want people to really think of.
Okay. Do
I would like,
anybody else?
yes, I would actually like to. So the question was about conservatives that they disagree with Black Lives Matter, Black conservatives. Um, I am of Puerto Rican descent, of course. You see, I'm light skinned, but regardless to my skin, my personal view of Black Lives Matter is every human is human. We are all bones, blooded humans. When we die, we all go in the same place, on the ground or being buried, either way. But at the end of the day, for those who are conservative in the Black, Hispanic, white nature, Asian, whatever you want to describe it to, they view things differently because this is just my opinion. They're closed-minded for the fact that, as Jermaine just stated, the reason that Black Lives Matter was created was because unarmed Black and brown were being killed. And it's frustrating that in many aspects of our culture, you see those who are considered to be more of a predominantly conservative realm, and they still don't believe on what's going on. So that means you didn't believe in the civil rights. That means you did not believe in the Civil War, where in which slavery was trying to be disbarred. You did not believe in any movement that made better for Blacks and Browns to continue and to better themselves in this country. Because at the end of the day, we can be independent, we can be Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, but you have to view it for what it is. In this country, we as Black and brown are not treated in the same perspective as our partners in the Caucasian area. And it might seem indifferent, but this is just my opinion, and everybody has their entitlement to their own opinion. But at the end of the day, I stand with what I say.
And thank you, Carmelo. We have another, I don't know if you want to answer, Anthony, but I have another question I could give straight to you.
Okay,
Go ahead, answer. And then we
Oh, I
can
was just going to say that I do support with what Jermaine and Carmelo mentioned earlier. So it is about experience, react, and approach again with the entire thing, and how Black Lives Matter movement got this prominence in 2019 again, that made it if Black lives really matter. And one of the things, a next component of it with Black Lives Matter is this case in Florida, the same crime, same courtroom, same judge, same day, but different results. Chase Legitner, armed robbery at 19, no contest plea, total points 138.2, 2 years in county jail. And Lamar Lloyd, a Black man, armed robbery at 21, no contest plea, total points 138.2, and 26 years in prison. And this is why we say Black Lives Matter.
I think you put it. I think you put it so really, really. You painted the picture there. Okay, so we have another question from the audience. Audience question: is it foolish to think that Black Lives Matter movement and voices should be going 100% all the time? I feel it disappears. That's part of the reason I think it may be a phony thing. Only about appear when convenient. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. So this person is saying, is it foolish to think that Black Lives Matter movement and voices should be going 100% all the time? I feel it disappears. That's part of the reason why I think it may be a phony thing. I think it only appear when it's convenient.
I totally understand the perspective of that person who asked that question. A lot of people ask me that question as well. Where is the consistency in Black Lives Matter? Where's all this money that was donated? Where does it go? So people have a lot of questions. The thing is that we have to make it consistent. So how do you contribute to make it consistent? It's just to join the team. You join the team and you play your part. That's it.
I want to add to what Anthony is saying also. As a founder of an activist movement, I think it's important for people to be engaged. You know, if you're not consistently engaged, you cannot complain about why this is not happening or why that is not happening. You have to be on the pulse of engagement. There are active marches, there are active protests, there are a lot of active things going on right now. And if you're not participating in the work of doing real abolition work and understanding why Black Lives Matter, you cannot complain about activists coming in and out. Obviously, the more famous activists have pull, have recognition, and people know who they are. But there are activists like me who are doing the work on a consistent basis. And I think it's just about paying attention to what is going on and being aware that there are people doing real work in the community.
No, I agree. Got to get involved. If you don't like what you're seeing or think that it should be, I guess, talked about 100% of the time or 50% of the time, or not when it's just convenient, you have to be that person to amplify Black Lives Matter. Carmelo, do you want to add anything to that question?
No, sir.
Okay. So we do have a comment in the audience, and I'm going to kind of direct it to you, Carmelo. This person said that referring to your skin color as why you are Puerto Rican or such is what further divides our people. Colorism is why Black Lives Matter is attacked, and there's a lot of many Black Puerto Rican people. I don't know if you would like to comment to that person in the audience. I don't think you meant it that way, but yeah.
I don't mean it as my color. I mean it as just who I am. Uh, I've done my research on my background. I've done my research in who I am and my family origins. And my skin doesn't mean anything, especially on the fact that, in general, about 37% of my DNA is from African descent. Regardless to what my skin is, I know who I am. My family originated from Puerto Rico, but I know my descendants are not. My descendants come from the African nations and also in the European nations due to whatever occurred in the conquistador era. But at the end of the day, my belief of what my skin color is just something what I personally think. Because at the end of the day, I know what the Black Lives Movement is and what it is portraying. I understand it might seem offensive to some, but it's not offensive. I take it as very a prideful thing for me, regardless if I was of dark complexion or of light complexion. I am who I am, regardless of my skin. But the way I support and the way that I strive for those who are in need will always continue for the way they are.
Thank you. There's another question in the audience. I'm going to open it up a little bit. What if conservatives are those who are benefiting from the current status of racial tensions? Or what if they can pass in the white world, but only if they don't cause a fuss? What do you say about that?
So we have definitely seen that because what we have seen is Black of certain socioeconomic class, and then within the same Black, you have classism. So while you are discriminated for being Black, in the Black community, you also have discrimination because of where you're from. How do you express yourself? So your experience plays an important role here. Somebody's background on how they conduct themselves in public, and just their social influences, their way of life can determine. For me personally, a lot of times I come in contact with people and they are, or they can be standoff because it appears that I was born in America and then they just see an African American. As soon as we get to converse and get to know more about each other, and I say, "Oh no, I'm Jamaican. I was born in Jamaica." The conversation changed totally, because to many people, they believe that African Americans walk with a chip on their shoulder and they are treading so lightly that they don't want to provoke them to react a certain way.
Okay. Do anybody else want to hop in, or shall we move on to my next question, which is going to be my favorite? Okay. So, um, throughout listening to all of you all throughout this panel, you guys have been, I mean, persevering through so much throughout this pandemic in school. Uh, hold on, there's another question. This one seems good too, but I want to finish this point. You guys have been persevering through so much. It's been tough, and I just want to ask how you guys are taking care of yourself, and what can you share with other folks in the audience on how to navigate, all of what's going on, but making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. And so I'll share first. I like going to my barber. I like to get my hair cut. I say that's my therapist because that's the only person that I feel like I talk to, and I know, so that relationship is really important to me. Um, yeah, I love going to the barbershop and just vibing and getting a haircut and just sitting there and standing in the mirror and finding out, learning more about me and learning more about my barber. And that's something that I cherish. So, Jermaine, what do you do for to take care of yourself?
I like to vacation a lot. Um, I take a trip every couple of months. I like to sleep. I like to read. I just you do things to get you in a state of relaxation. I turn my phone off when I feel like it, at least once a month, to just I pick a day where I just don't want to listen to phone calls or deal with people, so I turn my phone off for that entire day. It is so important to have a self-care practice because life is moving very fast, and if you're not careful, you're going to be moving as fast as life itself. So I think putting in those daily self-care practices and reminding yourself, like, maybe the first thing you're not going to do is run to your cell phone. Maybe the first thing you're not going to do is like to run to the TV or run to something because that's the routine. But like, change your routine. I'm learning how to change my routine every day, and it's made me a better person.
I like that. Carmelo.
Ah, there's several things I do. For one, when I'm home, I usually just watch my lineup of shows that I love to watch.
You gotta give
Uh,
us one. You gotta give us one of those shows.
I love to watch the Chicago series, Chicago Med, Fire, and PD. I love watching Law and Order SVU, and now the new one, Law and Order Major Crimes. And also the times that I know that I can relate and talk to individuals, I will go into on Mondays and Fridays. I will do my male empowerment network hour through Zoom with all of my mentors, with Dr. Gand. I will do it with Mr. Marshall and all the other mentees and just talk it out, everything from sports to recent highlights to events that have occurred in the past. And that's our way of expressing reality and making sure that we see what's going on with one another. If they need an additional help, we give it to them, or if we need additional help, they give it to us. I find it that both these these sessions are a great way of communicating and in a communicated basis. And then basically my form of therapy for those people that care for me as I care for them. So these are the couple of things that I do. And of course, I find my time that I will also vacation once in a blue and just be able to relax at home and just read. Not physically books, but I love audiobooks. I really love audiobooks. And I'll give a good recommendation will be the new book that Carmelo Anthony came out with. It's a really good read, and his life was very humbling to understand when he wrote it down in his memoir. So that's a book that I would recommend anybody to read. It's really good.
Thank you. I will check that book out. Anthony, what about you?
I love nature, so I'll go upstate and I'll just go to the mountains or some rivers, something outside of that. I just dress up and go out and treat myself to some dinner and have fun with my friends or something. And I read also some entertainment book.
Okay. So we got like 4 minutes left. I want to give you guys a chance to do two things. I want you to close out with something that you want to share to the audience. And I also want that time for you to also maybe promote a project that you're working on or your social media or, something. So you guys got like, I say 60 seconds. And so we're going to start with you, Anthony. Oh, I think you're writing something down. Who's ready? Anthony is a professional. He's like, let me make sure I get all these stuff.
So
Hey, Carmelo.
I would like to close with thanking you, Mr. Davis, for allowing me to be in this panel. Also, I would like to share one particular thing that has grown very big in my heart, and that is the push and the fight for paid internships of all kinds in the college level, due to the fact that I know that there's so many students who are doing non-paid internships, and they have to choose from doing the internship or working. And it's really stressful for many students that I know, because they also have a life, and many students also have families, apartments, bills to take care of, and they're not getting paid internships. And if anyone in the audience whom is here of an executive role, anything of this nature, are able to team up with me or help me try to build this as a bigger platform, I would greatly appreciate it. Because as election time is nearing our nearest dear, it's good to mention this to any candidate who is able to help us grow. And if you would like my social media, you can go to my LinkedIn, Carmelo Quinones Reyes Jr. I'm there, and you could be able to follow me there, if anything. And again, thank you for having me in this panel. I am completely humbled for being selected for this. And thank you, Mr. Davis, for taking your time and helping us with this.
Not a problem. You got to thank the CUNY BMI. Jermaine, really quickly, and then Anthony.
Hi, thank you. That's the first thing I want to say. But there are a couple of things I have to promote. I am the person that is working with Lincoln Center, so I do disability and storytelling. That is on their website. And also, I am working on a fashion show for Not Like the Other Kids. So you can go to the website, www.notliketheotherkids for more information. My Instagram is Jermaine Graves. I also have a website under the same name, .com, and that's how you can find it.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. Anthony, you got 30 seconds. I know you was writing down the whole book, but we got to kind of wrap this up.
Okay, cool. All right. So thank you very much for the CUNY BMI for having me here on this great place to share my experience with you. Thanks to you for that. My Instagram is Sir Anthony Thomas. And one thing I want to tell others and everyone on this call is that when you walk through the door of opportunity, do not slam it shut behind you. Hold the door open for somebody to come. Michelle Obama. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. And Joshua, anything you want to plug in?
Oh, really quickly, thank you all for tuning in. CUNY BMI, you should definitely hit that donate button and support because they are doing really awesome work. I don't know, Jorge and Sean did not tell me to say that, but I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for the CUNY BMI program. You can follow me at Joel_Joshua, JOELL_JOSHUA. Have a wonderful day and happy Friday.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for your experience. And thank you for the time that you took here. This concludes the 16th annual CUNY Blackmail Initiative. Just a couple of things before we completely log off. Number one is be on the lookout on your emails. We're going to send a conference recap. And in the recap, we're going to put a list of as many of the resources that were mentioned here today. Not just today, but yesterday as well. So if you're looking for those things, please make sure that you open the attachments on your email. Secondly, I want to remind you of our survey for the conference that will also be part of that recap. All of the work that we've done and all the panelists that you see here, we can only get better if we get your feedback. And so it's important that you give us as much feedback as possible. It'll be anonymous, so you can feel free to speak your mind and truly give us the most honest feedback for the conference. Lastly, I want to invite you to tune in to the CUNY Blackmail Initiative Dialogues, which happen the second Thursday of every month. So this Thursday, the 14th, coming up, will be our first one for the semester, and it'll be live through youtube.com/BMI. It'll happen at noon and it'll live there forever, but we will really hope that you tune in while it's live so that you're able to ask questions on the live chat that YouTube provides for us. And even though we're asking you to be spectators, I want to take what this panel say, right? Join the team. If you want to make the change, you have to join the team. So if you're a student watching, join the BMI team, go on our website and select the join a CUNY Blackmail Initiative project at whichever CUNY campus that you're in. That way we can get in contact with you and we can put you in contact with, like Carmelo said, right? Mr. Clifford Marshall, open the doors for him. And so every single CUNY BMI project is there for the same thing. So with that, I want to say goodbye. And as Sean like to do, the CUNY BMI salute. Thank you all. Have a good one.